Hotep Senuhena Senut ET Ren E Shakandugu Kemet. I hope you're doing well. You know what? Let me check the sound. Okay, loud and clear. That's beautiful. The title of this video is Bible Plagiarism, Book of Proverbs, and Instruction of Amenemope. Let me double check the spelling. Good. This is the link to the article, which has one more entry, the one that we are going to go through. This is the article. We have 5 entries now. And the one we're going to look at is this one, Proverbs and Amenemope's instruction. So, boom. The instruction of Amenemope is a text probably composed during the late New Kingdom between 1300 and 1075 BC, according to the Encyclopedia Britannica. This is Encyclopedia Britannica, and the entry for Amenemope says ancient Egyptian author of the instruction of Amenemope, probably composed during the late New Kingdom. Amenemope's text, similar in context to most of the instruction or wisdom literature written earlier, was a collection of maxims and admonitions, setting forth practical injunctions for living. In particular, many parallels have been drawn between the form and content of portions of Amenemope's work and the Hebrew Book of Proverbs, although the nature of the interrelationship between the two has long been debated. Some scholars have argued that the Book of Proverbs is dependent in some part upon Amenemope's work, while others have argued the reverse. Still others have suggested their linkage to a common earlier work or surmised that their similarities derived indirectly from comparable linguistic and other circumstances. And what do we have here? Okay, this is very, very brief. A piece in Egyptian writing, the instruction of Amenemope, which has been dated within the broad limit 1000 to 600 BCE, the Hebrew author apparently used this work as a model. The Egyptian work comprises 30 chapters, and the Hebrew text refers to its 30 sayings. Okay, but never mind. So, in the book Ancient Egyptian Literature, Volume 2, The New Kingdom by Miriam Lichtham, Miriam Lichtham wrote, I'm not sure how to pronounce her surname, her last name. It can hardly be doubted that the author of Proverbs was acquainted with the Egyptian work and borrowed from it. For in addition to the similarities in thought and expression, especially close and striking in Proverbs 22 and 23, the line in 22 Verse 20, have I not written for you 30 sayings of admonition and knowledge? Derives its meaning from the author's acquaintance with the 30 chapters of Amenemope. Ever since Adolf Ehrman pointed this out, there has been a consensus among scholars on a literary relationship, although some scholars have tried to interpret it in reverse by claiming priority for the Hebrew text, or have proposed to derive both works from a lost Semitic original. The instruction of Amenemope is completely preserved in the British Museum, Papyrus 10474. Now, when it's appearing in that orange kind of color, it's a link, it's a URL, which will open in a new window. And here you can see that's the picture from the British Museum. You can see 10474, and then it says 1-7, 1. So you have several sheets. So the museum number is EA 10474, 1. That's for this papyrus. And here, this is a screen print or screen capture from Bible Gateway, and you can see the next link. That's the next link here. After verse 16 of Proverbs 22, it says 30 sayings of the wise. Now, here's a comparison of the biblical book of Proverbs, and this is a new international version, and this is a URL that will open a new window. So it's a comparison between the book of Proverbs and the instruction of Amenemope as translated in Licham's Licham's aforementioned book. And once again, the book is none other than Ancient Egyptian Literature, Volume 2, The New Kingdom. And we've seen that with the Great Hymn to Aten. That's the book cover here. So let's start the comparison. Instruction of Amenemope, chapter 1. Give your ears, hear the sayings. Proverbs 22:17. Pay attention and turn your ear to the sayings of the wise. Instruction of Amenemope, chapter 1. Give your heart to understand them. It profits to put them in your heart. Proverbs 22:17. Apply your heart to what I teach. Instruction of Amenemope, chapter 6. Do not move the markers on the borders of fields, nor shift the position of the measuring cord. Do not be greedy for a cubit of land, nor encroach on the boundaries of a window. Proverbs 23:10. Do not move an ancient boundary stone or encroach on the fields of the fatherless. Instruction of Amenemope, chapter 7. If riches come to you by theft, they will not stay the night with you. Comes day, they are not in your house. Their place is seen, but they are not there. Earth opened its mouth, leveled them, swallowed them, and made them sink into that. They made a hole as big as their size, and sank into the nether world. They made themselves wings like geese. Proverbs 23, 4-5. Do not wear yourself out to get rich. Do not trust your own cleverness. Cast but a glance at riches, and they are gone, for they will surely sprout wings and fly off to the sky like an eagle. Let me just check the chat. Just want to make sure there's no trolls. Okay, that's good. Let me continue. Instruction of Amenemope, chapter 9. Do not befriend a heated man, nor approach him for conversation. Proverbs 22:24. Do not make friends with a hot-tempered person. Do not associate with one easily angered. Instruction of Amenemope, chapter 10. God hates the fast fire of words. He greatly abhors the dissembler. Proverbs 12:22. The Lord detests lying lips, but he delights in people who are trustworthy. Instruction of Amenemope, chapter 11. Do not covet a poor man's goods, nor hunger for his bread. A poor man's goods are a block in the throat. It makes the gullet vomit. He who makes gain by lying oaths. Proverbs 22:22. Do not exploit the poor because they are poor, and do not crush the needy in court. Instruction of Amenemope, chapter 13. Better is praise with the love of men than wealth in the storehouse. Proverbs 22:1. A good name is more desirable than great riches. To be esteemed is better than silver or gold. Instruction of Amenemope, chapter 17. Beware of disguising the measure. Measure according to its true size. Do not make a bushel of twice its size. It abhors him who trims, a measurer who indulges in cheating. Proverbs 20:23. The Lord detests differing weights, and his honest scales do not please him. Instruction of Amenemope, chapter 21. Broadcast not your words to others, nor join with one who bears his heart, but as one whose speech is in his belly, than he who tells it to cause harm. Proverbs 20:19. A gossip betrays a confidence, so avoid anyone who talks too much. Instruction of Amenemope, chapter 23. Do not eat in the presence of an official, and then set your mouth before him. If you are seated, pretend to chew. Content yourself with your saliva. Look at the bowl that is before you, and let it serve your needs. Proverbs 23:1. When you sit to dine with a ruler, note well what is before you, and put a knife to your throat. If you are given to gluttony, do not crave his delicacies, for that food is deceptive. Instruction of Amenemope, chapter 30. The scribe who is skilled in his office is found worthy to be a courtier. And you have a link to Webster's dictionary, and a courtier is a member of the royal court. Proverbs 22:29. Do you see someone skilled in their work? They will serve before kings. They will not serve before officials of low rank. And you know what's funny? There's some more plagiarism of Proverbs, but in a different work that I will deal with at some other time. We have Imhotep 360 in the place to be Hotep to use and E. And I want to read a little some from an article, but before I want to, get something to drink real quick. So bear with me. And I am back. So this is what I want to share with you. Many of you are probably familiar with this website, Bible Gateway. Might be one of the most famous biblical website. When you go down and about, actually, statement of faith. All right, it's not gonna fit in, but it's not long as you can see. Only 8 points. How does it show there? Wow, it's very, very small here. And if it's full screen, how is it? Okay, it's better. It's better. So if you can have the full screen, then you might as well uh, go ahead. Bible Gateway is a Christian mission centered enterprise focused on making scripture freely available on the web in multiple languages and translations, while committed to excellence in the presentation of biblical content. It is governed by a set of theological affirmations. This is not intended to restrict use of the site, but rather to promote trust in its content. Statement of Statement of Faith for Bible Gateway. 1. Doctrine of Scripture. The Bible is God's unique revelation of man. The Bible is God's unique revelation to mankind, the inspired, infallible Word of God. As such, it is the supreme and final authority and without error in what it teaches and affirms. No other writings are vested with such divine authority. 2. Doctrine of God. There is only one true God. He exists eternally as three persons: Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Each fully God, yet each personally distinct from one to other. From one the other. God is the creator of everything. I mean, this part two is just such a contradiction. It's insane. 3. Doctrine of sin. Everyone, regardless of race, gender, social class, or intellectual ability, is created in God's image and for communion with God. But because of sin, that communion was broken and all of humanity was separated from God, the source of all life. Because of the fall, everyone deserves God's judgment. 4. Doctrine of salvation. Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life. And God gives salvation and eternal life to those who trust in Him. Salvation cannot be earned through personal goodness or human effort. It is a gift that is received by repentance and faith in Christ, His death on the cross and resurrection from the grave. 5. Doctrine of Christ. Jesus Christ, the second person of the Trinity, was conceived by the Holy Spirit, born of the Virgin Mary. He was God in human flesh. He lived a sinless human life, yet willingly took upon himself our sins by dying in our place and on our behalf. He rose bodily, victorious over death. He ascended to heaven and is at the right hand of the Father as a believer's advocate and mediator. Someday he will return to consummate history and to fulfill the eternal plan of God. 6. Doctrine of the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit, the third person of the Trinity, convicts the world of sin and gives new life to those who trust in Jesus. He indwells all believers and is available to empower them to lead Christ like lives. The Spirit gives them spiritual gifts with which to serve fellow believers and reach out to a lost and newly world. 7. Doctrine of judgment. At the final judgment, unbelievers will be separated from God into condemnation. Believers will be received into God's loving presence. 8. Doctrine of the church. All believers are members of the body of Christ. The one true church universal. Spiritual unity is to be expressed among Christians by acceptance and love of one another across ethnic, cultural, socio-economic, national, generational, gender, and demoni- domin- denominational lines. The local church is a group of believers who gather for worship, prayer, instruction, encouragement, mutual accountability, community with each other, and as witnesses to the world. Not witnesses, but witness to the world. So that was for the record. Nobody? I've been live streaming for 21 minutes. I'm going to wait a little while to see if somebody wants to say what's up. And if not, if there's no action, then, we're going to call it a day. going well for that article, showing the parallels between the biblical writings and the texts from ancient Egypt. How amazing that so far we have so many texts from ancient Egypt, but it's not all. There's more to come. So for those who don't know, we have 11 people. Well, it went down to 10. How many likes do we have? 6 likes. Okay, not bad. More than half. For those who don't know, when I'm live streaming, no matter what the topic is, you're free to address anything. Whether you agree or disagree, the link is in the chat. It's pinned, so it's at the top. And it allows people to get on the panel directly. The only requirement is that people use a webcam. If people don't want to show their face, then they can participate in the chat. So feel free. I'm gonna wait a few more minutes and see what's up. Besides that, I hope you're doing well. Let me know. We can talk about current events, about news or ancient history, something that I've said a week ago, a month ago, or years ago. It's fine with me. Hey, we have our brother Hailey,
What up,
elder brother.
brother Shaka?
Semsu Sen.
How you doing? Let me just shut something down.
Thank you for calling, brother.
I
Feel
gotta
free to speak.
cool. Let me figure out. I'm gonna shut something down. What the heck? What am I doing?
Our brother from Bermuda.
I heard we need to shut this down. Um, yep, that's it. It's better. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear, brother.
All right. No. Just checking because I had the other station open still. Yeah.
Mhm.
So now I understand when people come on they when they come into the live stream they leave the other YouTube open. Gotta close that.
Oh yeah, and then yeah, it causes echoes and stuff
Yes,
like that.
yeah,
Yes,
that's what
yes,
I was hearing. So how you doing, man? I see you're doing getting a little bit into this comparison of texts.
yes.
I find it interesting how they speculating which came first.
Yeah, it's so funny. I mean, for them to argue either that um, the Hebrew text came first, or ultimately both Hebrew text and ancient Egyptian text derived from a common source.
No, a common Semitic source.
Yes, indeed, Semitic source. Yes.
Gotta stress that there because,
Yeah.
or like but I remember when I was doing the research on the origin of writing, they said, oh, the proto-Sinaitic was 3,000 years, was 1,500 years after the Maginata,
Hmm.
and the proto-Sinaitic was not formalized, but it was a copying of the Maginata.
Hmm.
But now they say, well, everybody had a common source from the text, from the Semitic.
Hmm.
But then when you analyze what the Semitic, where the Semitic derives from, you find it derives from the 17th century at the School of Göttingen, where
Hmm.
there's professors up there decided to use this term Semitic,
Hmm.
right, to describe the what was previously what they called Oriental languages, Eastern
Hmm.
languages. So now all of a sudden, Semitic went from being a language to a people,
Hmm.
and they're from not just any people, but a race of people, as
Hmm.
they like to say, race. But no. But so for me, it's they when they doing about a common Semitic source. Them so when they think about all of that, they say, well, that's an outright lie,
Yes.
and they know it.
And it's so painful to them. It's so painful, and I understand that they will make arguments like that, because um over time people discovered texts, or came across translations, and comparisons were highlighted. And
Hmm.
then it's like, what did they say? Houston, we have a problem, you know.
Yep. Yep. Yes, for real, for real. And the disingenuousness of it is that they're trying to turn. I listened to Chief X last night.
You're him imitating his laugh.
That guy is one of the most disingenuous people besides certain other people I could name. But yeah, go in, man, because you show him something straight in his face, and he said, "No, no, no, no." But he says, the brother said, was not the desert in North Africa? No, 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 no. That was just a fringe. It was straight up
Mm,
into Egypt. It's the desert, the desertification, the Green Sahara. That's certified straight up into the Egypt. So that's North Africa. But yet he said, no, you can't show me one. And Brother Siku showed him two tribes, so called. And he said, no, 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 that's just fringe. That's just, well, hell, you either do or you don't. You can't be almost pregnant. You're either pregnant or you're not pregnant.
He's just denying everything, apparently.
Well, yeah, because he can lose face, and like he can just say, "Oh yes, my bad." Some other of your um how can I say, your nemesis? I'll put it like that, nemesis. But Imo fake and the other fella, yeah.
Mhm,
So they can't just say, "Oh yes, I'm." Oh, yours bought out all these attestations, so I just have to dress back. They don't
mhm.
dress back from nothing and no one,
And,
you know.
and it's a shame, because it doesn't make anyone less of a man. It's
Well,
actually admirable when people,
it makes you more
acknowledge
of a, it
their
makes you a
errors.
man. Yeah,
Yes,
it makes you a
yes.
man. That's what makes you a man.
Mm,
So when I was a child, I done childish things, but when I was a man, I put off childish things. And childish things is not to earn up to your responsibilities or earn up to your mistakes, or to grow,
hmm. To
because
grow, yes.
that's what it is to me. Is a matter of growing. That's like what Brother James said. He had to just cut his brothers off because it's hurt not to it's hurt to learn. So we're all trying to learn something. We're all trying to iron sharpens iron, so to speak.
Yes.
Yeah. And so we're all here trying to make sense out of all the nonsense, like I just said, out of the out of the Semitic, from the proto oh the brother apostle, the Paleo Hebrew.
There are all those nice terms, those nice terminology.
What I found interesting, somebody made the claim about Abraham. I can't remember who right now because sometimes my mind's getting. But made the claim that Abraham went to Egypt and taught the Egyptians mathematics and sciences and all of that there.
That sounds so funny.
But when Abraham, who never existed, went into Egypt, never went there. But anyhow, because I asked a brother this one time before, it was several years ago, says, when Abraham went to Egypt, right? Was he practicing circumcision, or did he practice circumcision after he left Egypt? And the Christian brother, he couldn't answer the question because most of them don't read the Bibles that they believe in,
Hmm.
and he couldn't answer the question. But the thing was that he practiced it after he left Egypt, right? So then, obviously, being like as Herodotus said, Egyptians have been doing that since time immemorial, along with the Ethiopians. Then he couldn't have just got a revelation from God. He got a revelation from what he went in and saw, which is just put into the text. But when he also went there, all the monuments, all the archaeology was already in place, and you need mathematics for such things. And as the Greeks have said, so many of them, that geometry started in Egypt or Kemet in Africa, which is mathematics.
Yes.
So when these people talk about this person who never wrote anything, so how they talk about he knew mathematics to say that he knew mathematics? He never left any writings whatsoever about anything, not even his name. What we know about him is what other people wrote about him, which is Moses. So the fact that people say that with such conviction, oh, I think it was Captain Tazariak, and some time ago with a conversation he was having with Jabari on the street. But when these people make these fantastic claims without no backup, no foundation, then it's like Why are we even having this discussion? Because it's like if you can't show and prove, which people say show and prove, if you can't do that there, then what are we talking about? You know? Uh,
Theology.
yeah,
it's, it's very popular.
it's
But they
we
talk about it like it's history indeed.
yes,
Like
but
it's attested.
what blows my mind is that when people say you got this from and the difference is you got this from the European, but yet
What are they talking about when they say this?
practically everything because
All right.
everything that we well I saw this guy this guy make a joke white guy making a joke he says um, um white people invented credit. Yeah,
Credit?
yeah, they invented credit. They take credit for everything.
Mm.
You know, they take credit. So, oh, who invented this? Nobody invented this. So, it doesn't make a difference who invented it. It's very useful for mankind.
Mhm.
Oh, nobody, huh? Oh well, let's just say white people invented it then, taking credit. You know, it was a very interesting joke, but very credible. You know, because white people have claimed to have invented and done everything, um, um, but not the original white people. I'm gonna put it like that. When I say the original white people, I'm talking about um, um, Socrates, Plato, or the other people, Pythagoras and such, Thales and all of these people. They didn't claim anything except they have knowledge, certain knowledge that they received. But it's the school of Gottingen again, right? Which actually because we know in the school of Gottingen they have a lot of knowledge up there, a lot of the interpretations as the like the book that you said you read the attestations, the Weiderbridge, why the
Uh,
book?
Wörterbuch, but uh,
Yes,
in English, many people would say, Wörterbuch or
right.
Wörterbuch, but yeah.
And that's the
Mm.
most comprehensive, and that's what the TLA have for many of their
Yes,
attestations.
exactly, yes.
So I'm just curious. When you brought out that the the attestation of the virgin,
Hmm.
right? The maiden virgin.
Hmm.
And then I've seen so because I'm just finding about these things here, right? But when I
Hmm.
looked at this recently and I said, oh, hold on a minute, they take a lot of that attestation from the verbiage. So how is Dr. Reggie didn't know that? He's familiar with the TLA.
Well, I don't know if he's a doctor, but
Well,
yeah.
I use that term in in the realm of
I think he
sonata.
has he has a bachelor's
No, he does, but
engineering, so
yes, no,
he
I was talking about
yeah.
in the realm of sonata.
Oh yes, yes.
Dr. Reggie, you know,
Mm.
like because he keeps saying it himself, brother Reggie,
Yes,
not Dr. Reggie, but I just put it in the
I understand. I understand. Yes.
attestation of sonata. But
Mm.
I'm saying if he's familiar with the TLA,
Mm.
then he knows where the source and the material from.
Mm.
And if you told him, well, here's, and because none of them, him nor Garfield, who's not, I don't think is familiar with the TLA, but he would know this. But none of them went to look at the source and what he was talking about. Up until today, as far as I can tell, nobody has gone and said, oh, yes, right, this is what brother Ma'at was talking about. You see?
Hmm.
So then, how genuine are they? How real? How honest and truthful are they being?
Wow.
Not very.
So yeah, so it's for the people to say, it's for the people to say. But it was funny when I was just waiting, for like 40 minutes or so, and I'm seeing them putting up, everything but the the actual source,
Yes,
and
exactly. But you told them and the TL and it's the TLA, although they might not have that. But like I said, when I looked at it and I said, oh, hold it, all of these things is coming from out of the same dictionary that you was utilizing,
mm.
and it's all German. So how they talking about? Oh, it's a German source. That whole dang TLA is German.
I'm glad you point that out because sometimes people just want to make talking points, but indeed, for the last few months, if not, if not longer than that, they've been going through the TLA, and it wasn't a
Yes.
problem. But then some people want to have talking points, and or um, um, uh, I think one guy, Bati Sean said, "Oh, it's handwritten," as if it made a difference. And then Faulkner's is handwritten. Faulkner
I
is
just can't
considered one
say
of the
that.
best dictionary as
Yeah,
well.
I just can't
And
say
and
that.
and then I mean, the guy you mentioned said, I don't want to hear what the European has to say, the European American. So now we're doing the race car now, So when they quote it, it's okay, but but it's those are just talking points, It's just talking points. I'm not tripping on that.
But even I don't need to trip on things, but I'm talking about honesty.
Yeah,
It kind
I
of
know. Yeah,
ma'at. Yes?
yeah.
Isn't this what
No,
this
they
is
don't care about that. They don't care about my art. I mean, they are on record. Both those guys you mentioned, they are on record supporting a plagiarizer. So
Yes. Yes.
plagiarizing is a fact.
It's
And so
totally illegal. It is illegal. And for them but hopefully with this type of but I'm just even listening last night to Sonata talking about this next brother, young brother who he had on there a few times trying to show him things, and he said, well, he's become more convinced of the or more identifiable with the Hebrew as
Mhm.
far as the Hebrew attestations and all of that stuff there. And
Is it the young brother who was talking with Chris MVP Harris?
yes, yeah, that
Yeah,
brother there.
I've seen the part where you ask him, okay, is it literal? Like what Jesus said, and then the other stuff is it literal, and that was a bit funny, but
Well, yes, it was very funny, but very not like Sonata said, not to beat up on you, but I'm okay. You've chosen that, but what do you know about what you've chosen? And right off the bat, he couldn't even answer half the question because he's afraid to answer Chris because he knew what direction was going in, but he still stepped into it because you can't avoid stepping into it because once you accept it, you're already in the mess.
yeah, but
You know,
Sinai says that, but he's inviting every I mean, damn near all Hebrews or lights
and
of America. Maybe now it's not really having them like he used to because he's kind of going back and forth with them. But best believe that it's going to be like back like it was. They're going to be
mhm.
here dominating the platform. Like they have been dominating the platform for years actually.
Well, like that because I like how Chris blocked JJ 7000 not to
Oh,
put
they,
it
they had a
disrespectful.
discussion yesterday.
Yeah, last was it yeah, last night when
Okay.
was the last night when yeah, because um
I've missed that part.
it was
I kind
Siku,
of scroll to the video,
it was
and
Siku,
hmm
it was Siku and at first because that Siku was that double headers first that Siku won with that facing who was he facing? Oh, Chief X.
okay.
And then he had um, Chris Harris doing his presentation about the possibility of Abraham and that mythology coming from out of India. And
Hmm.
that's from out of the book that I shared as well, and like ellipsis. Yeah, that's the book
Hmm.
has some very interesting stuff in there. Um, um, that- and people discount these old writings, which I really don't like to do because like when how they talk about bad about Dr. Henry Clark for talking about how we should be reading these books from Jeremiah Massey and other people like Science and Symbols of Primordial Man and books like that there. Because these books was written when before long time before any black people was writing about these things, sir. And they have access like if you when you look at the references from out of the and like ellipsis, yes, that book there. And when you read the references from out of and actually I'm just doing a little piece out of her um, um to do with boomerangs. The boomerangs. Interesting enough. But and the art. Remember we talked about art, AAT,
Yeah, I remember.
meaning great. Yeah. So that has to do with the same thing because it mentioned in the Signs and Symbols of Primordial Man something that I told you before. I wrote a paper on Shikan Geop's research paper, and he's talking about the cave drawings and where they come from, and he talked about in one of the cave drawings in Europe that they shared a boomerang. So when I done trace it back to Egypt, yeah, through South Pacific, through the Australian people, but also other peoples around the world, even over into the Americas. But it says the earliest representation you can find is a picture of Haru, yeah, in one of the what's it? The heck was it? I got it here somewhere in the pits of the Tuat. The pits of the Tuat. This picture here. This is see yeah, this one here. That is that is Haru with a boomerang in his hand. You see it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And according to now this is from out of the Egyptian goats of the Egyptians, yes, from Wallace Budge.
Mm-hmm.
Wallace Budge. And it's
Oh,
showing that and
I
it's
have a,
showing, so when
a
I see
troll.
that,
I have a troll in the chat. I'm just gonna have to. But keep going, brother.
yeah. So when I'm reading, so I was just reading Science and Symbols of Primordial Man to live the art. And when I looked at that there, and I said, "Oh, okay, that he's talking about the same that picture. That's what the same picture that Science and Symbols of Primordial Man is talking about with the art when it's talking about that there. So it's rallies back. So this is why I like this old stuff. So when I'm looking at this stuff here, it confirms things. But when I'm looking at these older books, like I said, they had access to books that we don't have access to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, materials like back in the 1800s, they have material. We weren't even nerd these materials. So then, why are we gonna? Why wouldn't we read them? Because they're talking about blackness in such a way that it's not demeaning blackness. So why would we not read them? Most of the stuff that was coming out was demeaning us.
Yes.
Yes. So why wouldn't we read the stuff, as Dr. Clark said, that was going to show some true attestations about what we were doing before they came around, uncovering all of this stuff. So it's it baffles me when they tell you, oh, well, that's pseudo, but yet they never tell you really pseudo is.
Hmm.
That I find that very problematic. And that's what Uncle was saying. Well, Jep, he was back written down, and not going to discount him, but we got stuff written up in the 2000s now. I'm good, and I probably could get books like that there as well. But in 1974, what Dr. Theophil Abanga and Dr. Shikan Jajib did was brought those white people screaming, kicking, fighting into reality that we cannot discount blackness is what they was trying to do, and they're still trying to do now. Like I said, we have people like Chief Axe and other people with these people that the riparian people
Yes.
fighting against what their brothers already done in 1974, and the rightness of it is being shared by the European today in the Met Museum today. When you go to the Metropolitan Museum of New York today, and you can see Sheikh and Jijiab's work right there. I haven't been there, but I have the book. Yes, I have the book. So, but yet now they're getting told about his work is outdated. But yet the white people today are breaking them up when before they was bringing them down.
Mhm.
Even to the point of they have. I just love something about the modern man. I'm gonna put it like that. The modern man. The saying Cro-Magnon. They're using the term
Yes.
Cro-Magnon.
Yes.
Yes, and um, um Cro-Magnon doesn't speak to people. The same way the Grimaldi never spoke to people. It was the Grimaldi and the Cro-Magnon is a place name, so to speak. The
Mm-hmm.
Grimaldi family, which are in the area, the Prince of Monaco, that are in the area from where these skeletons and these artifacts was found.
Mm-hmm.
And Cro-Magnon is another place name of a place where the other skeletons was found, and comparisons was made. And the Grimaldi figure, Grimaldi skeletons was the earliest skeletons found, attestations to find within the European context. And the Cro-Magnon came after us, but now they have switched things. They're not talking about the Grimaldi no more. They're talking about this Cro-Magnon. Yeah, and it was proven like in research because Shikan Jeb did not write anything of his researches. He wrote about the researches that the European was dealing with and what they said. So it's not what he said. He
Yeah,
was he
he quoted heavily
yes,
the other authors, and debunked them.
yes, exactly. and and brought out all of this information, and
Mm.
I'm finding that they're talking about these anatomically correct humans coming out, and they're mixed with the Neanderthal becoming the Cro-Magnon. But yet that wasn't what, and because they say, well, Shikan Jijip didn't have no DNA test because they weren't doing DNA tests at that point, and genomes test, but they was looking at skeletal formations.
Well,
Yeah.
well, there's some people who will say, well, if the shape of the skull is this way and whatever
Hmm.
is the bones this way, then it will be a person of that ethnicity. And I personally, have my reserves about that. But Diab wanted to do the melanin test. He actually did the
Hmm.
melanin test, the melanin dosage test on
Hmm.
some mummies, but he asked for the mummies in
Particular
Egypt.
mummies,
And
yes.
he begged for like 2 years,
But
and he wrote that himself.
yes, I saw that. I saw that.
Yeah.
I checked on it. And the
Mm,
thing is that people today, I mean, even like when brother Reggie gave a pushback, and he got so upset when Jabari mentioned that Giap had said that, and he's still going on about he couldn't have been asked for because that didn't exist, but that's not what he asked for. He didn't. He wasn't talking about he was talking about doing a spectrum analysis of the skin.
mm.
That's what he's talking about, to see it, to do a melanin count.
Melanin dosage test.
Yes, to see how
Mm,
much, to see how how pervasive the melanin was in the skin, in the dermis, which would give an indication on the color of the person.
mm.
And to refuse that, but to fight about that now in our community, it is to me, how can I say, setting us back by 100,000 years. I'm gonna put it like that. Because there's brothers came, like when we look at Dr. Ben, what he was doing, Dr. Ben was out in the thick of things. When these brothers was doing what they was doing, they was in the thick of, when they say the thick of things, racism was rampant.
Yes.
Racism was rampant. We look around racism today. Well, racism then was, no, I'm not gonna say 10 times worse, because racism to me is racism.
Yes.
But the challenges that they had right in the face. Right now we got a lot of challenges behind our backs. You
Yes.
understand? But the challenges that was right in their face, the roadblocks that was deliberately, like I said, Shikan Job as a scientist is asking for this her, and he
Yes.
wasn't accorded that as a scientist, as a top scientist. He wasn't, even though he was proven, and that's why they didn't give him the samples that he was asking for,
Examples.
because in the face of it, they knew he was right. But you can't, so denial, 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 and we're not talking about the happy either. you know we're talking about denial of facts.
Mm-hmm.
It's what we're having today. And so it blows my mind that we're still having these debates when we could be moving so much more further. But like I said, I'm going to say again, it's a good thing that it really did come up, because when we went back, like brother Smash and even brother Reggie, looking at the attestations for the word cam and kamitu, and it said, oh, look, we was using this term even before we named the land
Kemet.
kamitu.
Yes. Mm.
We was talking about the people.
Hmm.
Yeah, we weren't talking about the land when it was being utilized in the early centuries.
Mm. One second, Elder. Hey, Chris,
Brother
how you doing?
Chris,
I don't know if you had a chance to listen to yesterday's replay, but
bless up.
you were backing up. But feel free if you want to join us. The link is in the chat. It's at the top of the chat. Keep going, brother Elder.
Yeah, yeah. So like all of this stuff, because I'm very much I'm a novice, so but like I said, I have a lot of different books, and I try to put stuff together. But I'm very much of a novice on such things. Like I said, you've been reading Imaginato for quite some time,
Hmm.
but I'm finding that a lot of the stuff that I do know, I heard people now repeating these things. Like I said, I wrote papers on this stuff several years back, a
Hmm.
lot of different topics that I heard brothers debate now and talk about now. Like even like I said, what brother Chris was talking about the Anacalypsis book. I'm had that for a few years now, and I've written stuff from under there, and some very interesting stuff. But these are the books that I find are not in people's library. Like you wouldn't like if I ask people when I ask people about Count Volney,
Yes,
yes,
Convolny. Yes.
nobody knows about this brother.
Hmm.
Nobody knows.
I know about him thanks to Job. And
Yes,
so, if I'm not mistaken, Convolny is the one who said, well, no, the same race who is now, subjected to us is the same race to which we owe the arts and so many in like science and stuff like that. I'm paraphrasing, of course. And
indeed.
Diop's main work, which is which is called Nation et Culture, which will be translated as Negro Nations and Culture.
Hmm.
Uh, you have the English equivalent, African origin of civilization, myth or reality. And I
Right.
said that so many times over the year, and it's really a shorter
Yes,
version.
I
The
have
the
that.
French one is so
Thick.
large, so thick,
Yes.
and you have more quotes. He spent
Hmm.
so much time quoting those European
Yes.
who obviously had bias, that they
Major.
were that we can say racist, and the
Yes.
way he destroyed their arguments is so interesting, and actually Theophile Obenga did that as well.
Hmm.
Um, his book might be there's another troll in the chat. His book might have been, I don't know if it's been translated because Dr. Mario Beatty quoted that book, so maybe
Which
he
one?
translated.
Which
Um,
one?
Hold on, let me just plug that troll right now. So some people,
Hmm.
um, but I'm gonna look up the book and see if there's an English version. So I'm doing that, and I'm doing that. Oh, my bad. What did I do? What did I do? Okay, I've put in a timer. Okay, so let me look for a book title.
Mm.
Theophile
Because
Obenga.
I've shown you a couple of books from Theophile Bank, but I just checked my we had a bookstore, a very friendly bookstore here, the Grio, that had to unfortunately close down because of um um the COVID thing. I'm saying because he opened up just as the time COVID hit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Worldwide, and so he couldn't really open up. So he'd been struggling ever since. And so finally had to close. But I was trying to last book I'd ordered from him was the um um Theophile Banger's great book. What's it called?
Oh, um, African philosophy.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes.
I have the French version. I just started. I'm not even halfway through. But
Right.
that's the book that Dr. Mario Beatty quoted from.
Okay, cool.
That's the French version here. Le sens de la lutte contre l'africanisme eurocentriste, which could be translated as the meaning of the struggle against Eurocentric Africanism.
Oh, cool.
And in that book, Theophile Obenga addresses several uh, linguists slash authors, and he's just refuting them quite vigorously. It's like
Yeah.
he's I think he even. might have used profanity at some point, but
I don't see why not. They
yeah,
deserve a lot of profanity.
basically, in other words, he went in. He went in completely. He went in completely.
Good.
Like for example, the part that um Dr. Mario Beatty quotes when he refused the hemo fake dude.
Mm,
Um, he says, students of uh, ancient Egyptian language learned that in the first year, and he says the name of the guy, and he says he can now learn, and everybody's laughing. I mean, he went in crazy.
yes,
Oh,
because he
there it is.
deserved it.
Okay, yeah. Okay, Kwame into bro. There's a English version of
Y-
pharaonic thought, indeed. And
That's the book
Imhotep,
we're
bro.
talking
Thanks
about.
to
This,
Ashfaq, I learned about Count Volney. This was 2005. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
But a reason I'm mentioning Calvoni is because nobody calls him how we call Afrocentrist,
yeah, or
right?
Egyptomaniac.
Egyptomaniac. But he was the one when he wrote the book, and I wrote this, right? A lot of people don't realize this, sir. When you look at the date that he wrote the book, right? 5 years before Napoleon went and invaded Africa with all his scientists, right? That's the reason why Napoleon went into Africa because he read that book and he went there. What? Because the guy says, look, like you said, he said that everything that we have, black people have created it directly. Yeah. And so, and because it's more than just, he wrote more than just that. What he wrote in there was so amazing. And we don't know about these things. But nobody calls him an Egyptomaniac or any other ruins of empires. Yes, by Volney. Yeah, nobody calls him these derogatory names or any of the other people that Shikan Dijab was quoting within his book of what is it, the book um
And
it's
now there's a
down here
new
somewhere.
term now, blackologist. The Hemo
Yes,
fake dude used that term, blackologist. I mean, those
yes,
guys, and they reserve those terms for black people, for black folks.
yes.
They,
They didn't call none of these Europeans to put out any
yeah.
of these books that we have. They
Mm,
didn't call it because nobody calls John Massey blackologist
mm. Or Champollion when
or
he described,
Champollion.
what he saw
Or
in the tomb, or
when he
Herodotus,
when
when
he was so embarrassed to say, "Well, shucks, look at thank goodness we have risen from that state of being,"
yeah, exactly,
because
exactly.
he said, "Well, the black people was already there. We had to emulate them in order to get up to where we are now." But like I said, now the credit givers and the credit makers and credit takers is no longer how can I say, the European. Even when we debate the term caucus, and nobody reads where the term Caucasian come from and why it's being utilized to describe all white people. When it wasn't used to describe all white people, was one skull that the guy Kuhn had, and he said, "Hey, no Bloombox." He said, "This is the prettiest skull that of the whole bunch. Come from the caucus." So now all of a sudden, credit. Credit gets to all white people instead of just this one individual skull, to give it to the entire. And when we look at it, we're not talking about Western Europeans. The Caucasus Mountains is not in the Western Europe. It's definitely in Eastern Europe.
Yes.
So we're not talking about anybody over in Scandinavia. So we're not talking about anybody down in the Mediterranean. It's far a place from there. So when we're looking at all of this information and when we're discussing it, I don't think we're discussing it from a a genuine space of trying to find out information. Because it seems to me that I find that I don't know, because I don't know. I'm not privy to what these brothers are studying. I don't know. But when I hear these people dismissing this old literature out of hand, I find that's literature I want to read. I want to read this literature that came out before the schools of Gottingen came out. People that was far removed from such places. But I was saying, when we look at the school of Gottingen, these are the people, the Germans. These are the people who have much of the literature. Like I said, the German book, the most comprehensive Maginata book of Maginata is by the Germans.
Yes.
So We can't dismiss that. What we can do is what go in and just what one could say clean up, being as one could read now, personally read now and make sense out of certain things. So when we come to certain things, because like I said, looking at the cam glyphs and we find that oh, they didn't speak in the terms of how we think modernly. How do you know that? Why did we just say that? When Champion saw this, and it wasn't just one area that he saw these four figures. Yeah, it was several different areas that said, oh, and each one they was all depicted the same. See, we was doing anthropological studies way back when, right?
And and you know, with what you just mentioned about the came glyph, and that's why, you know, once again, that's why Dr. Mario Beatty said that the guy doesn't go through the Coptic but around
Around
it, because we have indeed the Coptic, and in the Coptic, you know, the same root, you know, that we find as Keme
yes.
or Kame, you know, depending on the pronunciation, it means
Hmm.
black as well. So, you know, there's no
Yes.
escaping that. There's no escaping that.
The only way you escape it is when black people don't want to be black. And I'm not talking, but you understand what I mean by don't want to be black.
Mm,
You know, anything about being black, because black has become the worst thing in the world. But we were calling ourselves black
mm.
before the term was applied to the land.
Mm. Yeah, but
Because that,
the sad thing is that yeah, it looks like it was an ethnic, but Smash has stated that it
yes,
was possibly an ethnonym before it was a toponym. I mean,
it
if
was.
Smash wanted to write a book about it, you know, he has so much ammunition, so much material to do so. But um, what is it that I wanted to say? I lost my thought. I lost my. Oh yes.
Mhm.
Um, the reason why they refrain from black is not really like the stigma of black at one point, you know, but um, it's more to defend their book, you know, because if
Mhm.
there's a meaning of black, then obviously their argument just, you know, fall into pieces, and it's just
Mhm.
sad how they are trying to, you know, hold on to that
Boulay,
erroneous premise. Yeah.
Boulay, what's his name? That was the engineer. He was an Ilata engineer, the one who
Oh,
wrote the book.
Mboli.
Mboli, yes, Mboli, the
Mm.
engineer. He was not a linguist.
He is not a linguist, not to my knowledge.
So yeah,
He's an
exactly. So
engineer of some sort. I'm not aware of him having any degrees in linguistics. So,
and I'm not,
yeah.
and I won't discount people's studies,
Hmm.
but when it was pulled apart by Smash's
Hmm.
correspondence with the
Sandro
PhD,
Capuscici, Dr. Sandro Capuscici, yes.
right? When he examined the work, pulling it apart, pulling out the good parts, pulling out the bad parts, pulling out the made up parts, you can't refute such things. You can't stand on error, which is the main, and to refute him and then to embarrass, because it is an embarrassment, because he says you and that's what Smash is. Well, we're not going to argue if there's people down there. You're saying, yeah, when he was approached by the brother, I understand why, but says there's brothers down there have no credibility. You're smashing them apart. So we're not going to talk about what they're saying, because what they're saying is trying to establish the point of lies. So we don't want to give power to that, whereas we're going to say, oh well, Lord, we're just going to refute the information, but we're not going to engage them in conversation. That's not what we need to do. We're just going to shoot the arrow of the ways, and then what are we going to conversate? Because we're going to end up like person like Chief X rhetoric, and the same rhetoric that it took you how long? Because we're not talking about the 40 minutes that you was on hold. We're talking about this 3 to 5 hours beforehand, when you smashing people's asking for the information that they set ahead to say that it was a title.
Yeah, 3 hours.
three
Oh
hours
man.
plus, because it was two different shares.
Mm,
Remember, there was two different shares that happened,
mm,
right? Because the first one I don't think you came on, but the second one you came on. when he was talking about, oh well, that was the title, and well, show me how is the title, what title is it,
Mm.
where's that
Oh,
textational
it
title?
was the video on Smash Rock was a
Yes.
YouTube channel called Black Egypt, ancient Egyptians
Mm,
calling themselves black.
mm,
And first it was a Smash presentation, and at the end, when he opened the panel, then that's when I got on. So the video is 6 hours long,
6 hours, yeah, see.
yeah, but yeah, but I've uploaded the excerpt when the chat was open,
Right,
not the chat,
right,
sorry, the panel when the panel was
right.
open, and that lasted 3 hours. So
Yes.
yeah, and for three
So,
hours indeed, yeah, it's a title. Came after a name is a title. It doesn't have to do with
and
it doesn't have to do with black, not the physical appearance, and he couldn't demonstrate that. So it's funny when people make an affirmation, they cannot back it up. But I'm just used to people, being quite disingenuous. You know what I'm saying? It's like when I ask him, when I ask Wuja, uh, does Sahim or Fake have any peer reviewed work? He replied, I haven't seen any. If he had peer reviewed work, he would know. You know what I'm saying? So, and even with the census, oh, yeah,
well, that was,
I haven't filled a census in a long time. So I said, okay, why did you put in the census? Oh, I never filled the census.
but that's the
You know,
point. But that's the point. That's not a lie. When he says, I haven't seen any, can't see what's not there.
yeah, there was slick with it. Was slick with it. But that's just being
That's
disingenuous.
how they do it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
how they do it. They're
Mm,
so disingenuous, and said that's why the brother said he had to get off, because when it comes to that deal, it's like, okay, hear it. If you're working with somebody, learning from somebody, and they say, oh, a mistake was, oh yes, right, mistake there. Then you can start saying, well, okay, fine. You don't discount all the direct out of hand. But when you find them blatantly lying about one thing, then how can you trust anything else?
yeah.
It doesn't make sense
Yeah, you
because
cannot take what people who are habitually being disingenuous or lying for face value. You have to, double check nearly everything that they're saying.
everything,
I mean,
everything.
I don't know if you've seen when he came on my platform and we had a very nice discussion.
I missed that. I
Um,
think.
oh, you missed it.
I think because I've heard you speaking about that, but I didn't
Oh
remember
yeah.
that conversation at
Oh
all.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've uploaded it.
Yeah,
And
because
it
I've seen.
lasted.
I've got to go back and look.
Yeah, it lasted 4 hours.
Uh,
Um, at one point, he showed the cam glyph with the let's call it the TU bird, or
right, right.
but basically the bird that stands for TU.
I got you.
Um, so
But that's the bird that proved. But that's the bird that Smash Rockwell proved that the T in Kemet was a feminine prefix.
um, well, that's a technical discussion there,
That
but
I'm good with it.
that's what will be used to spell or write, Kemetio,
Yes,
um, but it says, the translation is Arthribis.
yes.
Actually,
But it's
people,
not.
it's in German, people
Yes,
of Arthribis. So I asked
yes.
him, okay,
Go ahead.
yeah, ask him what is the word for for Arthribis,
Uh huh.
and he argues it's chem, so we went back and forth about the meaning of chem, and then I asked him, okay, what is the word for people? And he says not there. And ask him what
Oh,
is the word for off. He says it's not there. So I say, okay,
oh.
what is translated there? And then to try to get out of it, because at the top we had Kemet,
Uh
and he went on talking about, he says Egypt, and Egypt derives from Hud Kapata, but he doesn't say Hud Kapata, you know.
huh.
But the thing is that Athribis is the Greek rendition of Hud Heri Eb, Hud
Yes.
Heri Ib, and Hud Heri Ib is something that the ancient Egyptians used. Egypt is not something that the ancient Egyptians used. They called
Hmm.
the land Kemet at some point.
Yes.
So, but he was trying to, get
But
around that. And then I told him, okay, Kem, literally it's the black. And he's like, no, it's not the black literally because we don't have the. And we went back and forth. And so after a few days
semantics,
later,
semantics.
I made a video and I showed him, scholars, PhDs
Hmm.
using the term literally, and he says the black or sometimes
Yes.
black land.
Yes.
But I was
Yes.
trying to explain to him how it goes from one language to another. But I'm
Can
used. I mean, I've heard the guy, and I know how he gets down. And if you are not seasoned, this guy, you can ask him any
for real,
question.
for real.
Like. 90% of the question you ask him, he doesn't answer. He will answer maybe 10 of them, and he will basically give answers, but not really answer your question.
Yes, I
And if you're not
understand.
seasoned, this guy, you can ask him a question. He's
Slick
gonna talk,
words.
and then he's gonna ask you a question and act like you
Slick
didn't
words.
answer. He's very skilled at that, you know.
Slick
And
words.
and his groupies, you know, the riparian are groupies. They are just, you know,
But, but
some
that word,
followers, you know, some followers who don't have much intellectual skills, and that's why most, for the most part, there are moderators on different channels, and
uh,
they cheerlead for different people, and you know, and then they I mean, it's just sad. It's just sad. But
but
it's their world. It's their world. You know, they're
it's not
happy.
the it's not the world because that that throwing it out to us, the unsuspecting, the writing books to us, the unsuspecting. But trying to find information. That's why I said I perfectly stem well shoulder to shoulder with James when he says that should be banned. But getting back to the Thrivers thing,
Hmm.
it has nothing to do with Atribus. It had to do with the deity of Atribus. Like you just said, the deity, that mention was not mentioning Atribus as the city, it was mentioning the people of Atribus under the titular of the deity as the Kamitu. Yes? That word.
Well, yes. I mean, Smash Rockwell has done some great work. Great work. You know,
Extremely great
going
work.
through their source. I mean, books that they
Hmm.
quoted. You know, the
Yes.
riparian as that is. You know, whether
Yes.
it is Alessandra Nibi or Pascal Vernus,
Hmm.
and I see that Smash also quoted from who is it again? The other guy who wrote about Arthritis. One very famous guy.
Oh, he said he has the book. He has the book, the French book. Was that the one you
Um,
told me?
no,
It says has.
there's another famous Egyptologist also who wrote about Arthritis. The name
Mm,
escapes me now, but I think I have it somewhere.
mm.
Um, if I put Arthritis here, I think it will show Arthritis. Oh, Flinders Petrie.
Flinders, okay.
Yeah,
the,
Flinders
the the
Petrie.
the 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 father of Egyptology, as they say.
Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't know
Flinders
they called
Petrie.
him that. You know,
Yeah,
because
some
he.
people call him that.
All right, yeah, yeah.
Well, because he was one of the earliest ones, and he was the one who
Hmm.
found the
Nama's head.
Naaman's head, but also the temple in the temple of Hathor
Hmm.
in Sinai, the Sinai, Mount Sinai.
Hmm.
It's got this the Arab name for it now, but that's
Hmm.
that's that's when I found that temple and spoke about the childish childish Canaanite writings. I'm gonna put it
Hmm.
like that there because they try to bring the mythology into history, the mythology of of the Hebrews, and how they done that when they wrote it was very. I had to laugh at it when they said, "Oh yes, well was done by um Canaanite workers, a euphemism for slave, right?" But they didn't want to say slave, but they couldn't put slave, but they put Canaanite workers who
But do you, I'm sorry to cut your brother out there, but are you talking about the hypothesis of oligowasa?
who
Oligowasa. I can, if maybe if I show you the name, because my pronunciation might be
hmm
off a little bit. Um, hold on, I'm going to show people.
Go
I'm
ahead.
going to share the link as well. But she says that, you know, it was most likely some workers in Egypt uh, who basically copied. I'm paraphrasing, but copied the
Yes, yes,
Meta, and they came up with, like, see, Meta, origin of the Greek and Latin alphabet. I'm
right.
going to share that in the chat so people can have some reference.
Yeah, I like that. That
And
that's
then
that.
if you scroll to the bottom, so we have first the chart from Anthony Brother's
Yes,
Nile Valley contribution to civilization.
right.
Then we have another chart by Stephen Roger Fisher's book, A History of Writing, and
Uh,
basically shows how we went from the Meta to
right.
the Semitic, Phoenician, Greek, and Roman. And then we have um, Orly Goldwasser, who is the head of the Department of Egyptology and Ancient Near
Okay.
Eastern Language and Cultures at the University of Israel. And you see here we have her article. I'm going to share the link.
She
But
wrote
she
that in
says, you know,
2009,
how the
2010.
Uh, yes, indeed, 2000. Yes, and
Uh
here's
huh.
the article so people can see it. But it's entitled "How the Alphabet Was Born from Hieroglyphs." And it was in the Biblical Archaeology Review. You know,
Mm.
so but it's not what
Right.
you were
Yes.
talking about, is it?
But it's similar. Yes, because that's the temple right there. That's the area where that's Flinders Petrie. Yeah. When he found that stuff. But I'm saying I don't know that what you're showing me there. I haven't seen that as yet.
Yeah, the
So
link is
hopefully
too
if
long.
you
I'm gonna try for to look for a shorter link. But go ahead,
right,
brother.
if you could put it out, I say if I want to, I'd like to get that. I don't know. Let me see if I do this, if that works. Take a screenshot.
Oh, the first part works. It's okay. It's okay. I'm just gonna delete the second link, but
Mm.
the first
And
part works.
oh yeah, because I want to go that and look at that there. Go. What the hell? I guess I didn't do that screenshot. Mm.
Now, if there's another website
Yeah.
that has the article as well. Maybe it's easier to read on the other website.
Right.
Um,
So
mm,
and that's a discussion. So yeah, but because I was just taking up for Vicky when they done it because I like to reason why I love to like to use Vicky because
hmm
of the doors change and I get that. Um 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 it's what I say is this not but I say because it's European based. Most everything's European based. I'm good with that there. But when they say it and that because I have to go through it and break it down, yeah, and pull out salient points because sometimes like what Waju how he does he has a whole heap of words in there, but if you listen carefully enough, you could pull out these salient points, his lion motifs. So when they said that it was Canaanite workers and was relates to what they call the Paleo Hebrew or Proto
hmm
Sinaitic, Proto Canaanite, all of that there, Proto Phoenician. It's all Proto, right? But everything came from out of the Imaginata. But they said that it was Canaanite workers, but that was total speculation because
Yeah,
there was no because
yeah, we could say
there
it's
was
a
no
hypothesis, but it's
there was no testation for that. It was just said, oh, because we're looking at the writings, it was infantile, it was copying, not with a steady hand, so it was not anybody that was familiar with the writings.
hmm
So then, because it was a mine there, because the mine of I forget what they mine there was mining up there, but there was mining for many years from the 12th from the 12th dynasty and before, right? And the temple of Hathor was there. That's how I when I wrote my paper said, oh yes, that's why they had the golden calf underneath Mount Sinai. So they mix certain mythologies in with histories. There was a temple to Hathor, the cow-headed goddess. Yeah, as we saw
yeah,
in that,
temple to the goddess Hathor. Yes.
we
Now,
just
did
saw
you
that
mention
in the
Petri?
archaeology that you just showed. In the archaeology that you showed on that page, you saw the head of Hathor,
Mm.
and she was called the golden one. She
Yeah,
herself,
indeed.
his name is
Yeah,
the golden
they
one.
talk about Flinders Petries archaeological expedition
Mm-hmm.
in 1905.
Mm-hmm.
And his
Yes.
wife, who herself was an Egyptologist, noticed some fallen stones inscribed with unusual signs that were clearly not typical Egyptian hieroglyphs.
Mm-hmm.
And although Petrie determined that the signs represented an alphabetic script based on hieroglyphic pictograms, he was unable to decipher the curious inscription, and this photo shows Petrus at the ancient Egyptian capital of Memphis in 1910. So, yeah, I think we're talking about the same
Yes,
argument
it
there.
is. It is. It is. It is the same place. So and so like I said, remember looking at what they wrote in order to justify certain things because that's fully 1500 years and still trying to figure out how they dated that inscription, interesting enough, but they try to put it as close as possible to me for the imaginata, the earliest form of the as they say proto-Sinaitic or proto-Canaanite or proto-Phoenician or
There are so
proto-Hebrew,
many terms:
Paleo-Hebrew.
Paleo Hebrew,
But like I
Paleo
said,
Hebrew, Proto Canaanite, Proto
Sinaitic.
Semitic, maybe Proto Sinaitic. I mean, anything to take it home.
Anything. Remember, I tell you credit,
Yeah.
credit. They're taking credit for stuff,
Mm.
but But the like you said, that book that the Nile Valley Contribution to Civilization. Plus, there's another. It's another short new YouTube clip on that. There, not even YouTube, Nova, I think it was, and they had this German lady, I think, was discussing, and this, had this brother writing the script, how it got developed and developed into the Roman A, the ox
Hmm.
head, the ox head, and I wrote on this stuff here, and when we're looking at these things here, that is undeniable where the origin of these things come from, but they still deny it up until today. But yet the evidence is out there, and now we have like Smash Rock, where I was looking at certain things, and it's oh, they weren't saying this here before concerning Cam being black and all of that there until this discussion. That's what I'm saying. This discussion that we're having now, even though it was done in 1974, but because these brothers is resurrecting the conversation, it has caused brothers to go deeper
Yes.
and look and do deeper research and come up with these interesting facts that we were calling ourselves black skin color way back when. Not only calling ourselves black, but we was also calling ourselves red. So when we look at what, because they say, oh well, they didn't speak about it in the same context in which you're speaking about it today. No, not in the same context, but in the same context. Not in the same context of racism, but in the same context of colorisms.
And same meaning, yes.
You know,
They can
so
have the context, they can have the social construct, but it's the same meaning. So, I mean, those are talking points that they are, oh, we can apply our social construct now to the. I mean, those repairing us, they're so pitiful.
well,
I mean,
you gave me the secret.
normalizing being pseudo.
I think you gave me the secret to Ujara's pushback in the fact that he was a Moor.
Well, he spent a great deal of time getting away from that.
Yes.
I mean, even when I questioned him about that, he gave so many names of organizations when he was actually there at the
Hmm.
last stage when it was called the United Nubian Nation of Moors, and
Now that goes to Nubian nation. Now that's not Moors per se.
well,
That's that's
United Nubian Nation of Moors. So
yes, but that's
they're
gonna be
not the
Dr.
same
York.
as. Yeah, that's Dr. York indeed. So they're not the same as the
Yes,
MSCA or Moorish Science Temple of America,
exactly. That's what
but
I mean.
still,
But they still have
we
the
have. Yeah,
same
I mean,
mentality.
somehow, some way, because Dr. York was, he would use the term black, but that's one indication. But I
Mm-hmm.
was just trying to find out, why is he getting away from the term so much? And I know mainly is because of the book, but that also might be one of the reason, because of his background. But I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's
Well, I
like
mean, even that other brother, was he not part of that same Nubian thing?
him or fake.
Yeah.
He was a Hebrew Israelite,
Oh, right, right, right. And they
and
didn't like
he.
black. They didn't like the blackity blacks either.
No, they don't mind. They talk about
Some
black
of them do.
Hebrews.
Some of them do.
Mm.
But the black Hebrews is nobody associated with the well, some of them do. I guess you got the the Hierophant, what's his name?
Oh,
Yeah,
the
that
adept. Oh man, that guy.
and so many of them like that. But
You
like I
know,
said,
I'm sorry to cut you, but I would
okay.
say he has a lot of learning to do, but he's just not learning. He's just stating something. Even if you show him where he is wrong, he's just not going to acknowledge it. And one of the greatest examples is when Smash Walker showed him that, look, that stuff you're saying is not a reference. It's not a translation. It's a reference. It
Reference.
doesn't mean amen. It's a reference. And still, he was trying to, talk his way out of it.
You
So, and
can.
to me, this behavior, this denial is the same way that the riparianists go, and the
Yes.
riparianists just repeat over and over again what their leaders have said. That's all they do. So
But that,
and you see, I was on pseudo killers, and there's a guy called Thunder, and Thunder
mm,
is on Garfield's channel very often, and
mm,
he talked about Hemofek and said he's a scholar. So I called him. I said, this guy said that Allah Allah is an indigenous African god. How is he a scholar? Then he started saying, okay, well, you know, don't scholars make mistakes? And I say, yes,
Yes,
scholars make mistakes, but when you repeat the falsehood for years, it's not a mistake; it's pseudo. And then he was like,
exactly.
okay, just because someone is wrong, and you know when the sentence starts like that, that's a red flag. That's probably
Just
a
because somebody's
Riparian, like
wrong.
yeah, just because something is a dictionary, it makes it true. Just because a scholar something, it makes it true. Just because
What?
somebody make, that's what they say all the time.
Well,
So
people.
yeah. So when he
uh,
says
the-
like, just because somebody is make a mistake, that means he's not a scholar. And I'm like, I mean,
What?
that they
All I
told
could
him,
say,
I'm sorry, I just want to finish with that. I
okay,
mean,
okay.
Chef said, you're losing your credibility right now. You're just not realizing it. You know what I'm saying? So, but go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
No, no, no. I was just saying is that okay? Scholars do make mistakes,
Mm,
and when the mistake is when the error is found out, they correct the mistake.
exactly.
Yeah, that's what a scholar does.
Mm,
But a pseudo is gonna just fight to the bitter end, and just stand on their shaky grounds, that the pillar of
mm,
sinking sand, and to the end, which is what we're seeing today. But so yes, scholars definitely make mistakes, and that's why pencils is made with rubbers. That's why they made whiteout. Yeah, that's why they have auto spell check to correct the mistakes that people make. Everybody's gonna make a mistake,
yes.
but when you learn better, right? And not just because I have a problem with certain things like with um brother Unk. Y- Stand firm on your square, but you can't make blanket statements about things just because it doesn't match certain things, other things. When I talk about what I mean by that, there is I'm trying to remember the specifics, because he was talking about something, but yet he wants to throw everything out because how can I say? And it's very hard
But
because
is it about evolution, or is it about
uh, it's not it's about information. It's not so much about evolution because he stands hard on the evolution, but uh, it's in my pocket. But that's not something. Oh, my uncle. One second.
yeah? Feel free to meet yourself though.
Hello. A minute.
The brother is on the phone. He's muted himself, so uh, when he's finished, can continue the conversation. See, brothers and sisters, it's all it take to click on the link and you're on the panel, and that all the interaction.
Yeah, I'm
Yes,
sorry about
brother.
that. There. My
No,
uncle
no, no
just
problem,
calling me
brother.
up.
No problem. Don't need to say
Yeah.
sorry.
No. I can't remember, but it's like I'm getting get back to it. But I don't mind when people stand on the square, but just to dismiss things out of hand because of your certain biasness. Because not like I said, people make mistakes, especially in this climate here now. We're trying to find out things, and people don't want to step off of certain things, let go certain things. We just can't take everything, throw all the old information out. That's what he said. Old information has to go out, new
Oh,
information has
yes.
to come in. And
Yeah,
in some instances, yes, but not in every instance.
in every instance. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously the information gets updated quite regularly in academia, but I mean, um, some people have even studied, if it's something like before 90, I don't know, let's say for example 1980,
Hmm.
then it shouldn't really be taken into uh, much consideration. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but
I
I mean,
got you. I know what you
yeah.
mean, for real, for
Mm,
real.
mm.
But that's a problem because
Well, it is a problem because indeed some people misinterpret, they will misinterpret that, into like, we should not pay no mind at all. Like Egyptian grammar by Alan Gardner is really considered a classic.
Uh-huh.
But still, some of it is outdated, and James P. Allen
Yes.
says that, but still remains a great piece of work, very thorough piece of work. It's
Yes.
not it's not like Burge. Burge did what he could at the time, but
Hmm.
Burge is just like it's more outdated than Egyptian
Well,
grammar.
when you but even when you say that Budge is outdated in a certain
Mm,
sense,
mm.
but when we talking about the per Amharu, this is what most people use, and I find that very interesting because when I'm looking at this here, when I'm reading this one here, right, and I'm so okay because because I have
But
this,
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
sorry. The reason why we mainly mention Bershom is because he's the one who acquired the papyrus of Ani. So it's
acquired is
probably
a nice statement.
he might be the first one to have done the translation. But
He was
since he acquired it, and he wrote extensively on it, and on other topics as well.
many
But
other
keep
stuff.
going, brother. Yeah, keep
No,
going,
no,
brother.
I'm just saying is that we use this here, and a lot of the glyphs, like the hand glyphs, I
Yes,
understand is D, not a T.
yes,
He is
D. Some people will say RD, but yes, D.
yes, but he uses T. So hence the
Yeah.
tuat instead of duat.
Indeed, he uses the T a lot rather than the D. But there's other stuff as well. But yeah,
Oh
you
yeah,
have
it
stuff like
is.
that, which is
It
minor.
is.
It's minor.
It is.
Champollion had a lot of that, because
Right.
he was an early stage
Yep.
of deciphering.
Am I improving all the
And the
while?
funny thing, brother, is that I've uploaded a very short video of an Egyptologist called Dominique Farou, and
Mm.
he made a very good presentation about the decipherment even before Champollion from the Greeks
Oh
and then the
yes.
Arabs.
Oh,
And
right, right,
we
right,
have
right, right.
many Arabic, not just text, but with pictures where they actually imitated the original from Kemet. And he showed
Mm.
the two, and even sometimes you actually distinguish the glyphs,
Yes.
and
Into the
many
Arabic,
people.
right?
Yes, yes. We
Right.
have the Arabic, and we have the glyphs as well that they drawn. For them, maybe
Right.
it was more like drawings, but
Right.
um, there was some attempt at translations, um, and the whole issue of alchemy. There's even a depiction
Mm.
of
Mm.
somebody who's like, basically, changing the gold into, I mean,
Yes.
I forgot
Layered
which
into gold.
material.
Layered.
Yeah, metal to gold is indeed.
Layered.
We
Yeah, they
have that
layered.
depiction.
Right.
Um, and of course, alchemy,
Yes.
chemistry,
Yes.
alchemy derives from the term chemet. But most people feel like the Rosetta Stone is what was instrumental for the decipherment of the hieroglyphics. But
Philae.
actually, I think it's called the Philae. I took note of it somewhere because I have the pictures and I have the notes. But
Well,
people are not ready for that type of knowledge.
but
But
Philae you're talking about would be
I think it's
what they
called
call
Philae inscription.
elephantine.
But I want to double check. I think it's called the Philae inscription. Where are my notes? Okay, no, it's not this one. So where is it? Oh yeah, I have okay, I know where I will find it. If I go up,
But I think one thing we keep
uh,
I remember when Smash Rockwell, not Smash, Chris Harris was debating that guy, V, what's his name, the white guy, Milan, yeah,
yeah, vocab Malone.
yeah, Milan, vocab Malone, and that guy had the nerve to say that, oh, the Egyptians lost the language, and up until today, that racist statement actually breath out of me because we're talking about the Arabs coming into Africa and learning things. The Maginata was not pushed out until the fifth century AD. That's when, by decree that had been ongoing for many years, was
Mm,
finally put into serious effect by the Romans. to stop the mystery schools, to stop the Imaginato,
Mm.
which and like when you read,
Justinian.
yes, and well, when it was a few of them, and so, but when you read Still in Legacy,
Hmm.
and he tells you, say, yeah, in order for them to stop the mystery schools, they had to stop the Greek mystery schools because they was offshoots of the African schools because that's who was doing the teaching. That's what they were learning from. But in
Hmm.
order to stop the Greek mystery schools of where the how can I say the Gnostics was building, yeah, but that's where they were teaching from all of because when we look at the Gnostic writings and they say, oh well, there's heretical Christian writings, but when I analyzed the fact that it was redoing the old stories in a modern form to disguise them a bit from these people. But the Imaginato was still being written right up into the fourth and fifth centuries, which
Yes.
is not too far apart from when the Arabs came down to invade. Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
so you still would have had people with this knowledge at that
Yes.
early date.
Hmm.
So it's not surprising to me that they would have learned some things,
Of
because
course.
a lot of people saying like said by vocab, oh that was like they thought that it was lost from the time when Alexander the Greek came in, But funny to me is that the Bible, which everybody put so much stock in, was a known up until the Greeks came in. Nobody was talking about any Torah before that point in time.
And
Nobody had said, yeah,
go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
no. You go, go, go.
Mm.
I lost my train of thought. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
No, I said I haven't
But
lost it. Go ahead.
okay, but indeed, it's the Philae obelisk because we had the
All
name
right.
of Cleopatra and Ptolemy, and when he wrote first, he said, I think he was talking about Rosetta Stone or the
Mm-hmm.
method. He said, "This is how I will decipher the hieroglyphs," and then later on, he actually went and successfully,
And
um,
who done that?
Champollion.
Okay, but
The only thing I was trying to say is that most people worldwide think that the Rosetta Stone was uh,
mm-hmm.
was the main
Instrumental.
thing that allowed Champollion to decipher the hieroglyphics
Right.
when it was actually the Philae obelisk. But
With the three names. But now the Philae obelisk. This is what you call from Elephantine. Yes.
what I can have a look. I can have a look. Philae obelisk. Um, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's Elephantine because Philae is towards the south. So where is Philae? Well, no, those are two different cities anyway. Philae.
Well, Elephantine is the
Hold
island. Yes.
on. Hold on.
The reason why I say
Ele-
that is because that was
Elephantine.
you're right. That was the last place where the Imaginato was stamped out. One could say
Mm-hmm.
where they was teaching.
Uh, they're probably close. I have a map somewhere. Let me see on the map. Uh, Gotta look how far they are, but they're probably not far apart. But I have, oh, there it is, Egyptian map, and let's have a look. So, Philae, Elephantine. Well, they are really like next door.
Right.
Philae is really within the Nile itself, and Elephantine is like to the
Right.
left. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's the same region. First
Yes.
cataract.
That's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking because I was that's an association in my mind between the two, and I
Mm-hmm.
know that it was down there, and like I said, that was one of the last places that they wrote Imaginata
Mm-hmm.
down in Alemtein, when it was stamped out, so to speak. Yeah. So yeah. So yeah, it makes sense that there would have been he would have been using this Philly because like I said they done a lot of work. I'm talking about the Ptolemies. They had a lot of inscriptions done in that area. I think they're trying to claim, they're trying to encroach further. Tina Harvey, our language we use are different, so we allow no understanding to cause division. Okay,
I
that's
don't know what
interesting.
she meant by that, but
Me either.
we have Kwame Mentuhotep also talk about Vatican Museum, where I've been for
Who
the
text?
record.
What's her
Oh,
test?
Textual, yes. Well, we
What
have
is
some
that?
few artifacts where it has the shape of the offering table or altar, which is basically the
Uh,
Hotep glyphs, the Hotep glyph.
okay.
Now, I don't know about that book. I heard about it. I don't know because you
He,
said that
well,
Hebrew is Greek. I really don't know
well,
about that.
the word Hebrew is Greek.
No, no, no. Actually, there's a book called Hebrew
The
is Greek,
Hebrew is Greek.
and
Oh
and
yeah.
and and as the title suggests,
Oh.
I haven't read it yet. But
Ah,
as the title suggests,
one could well, I'm gonna put
the Hebrew
I'm
language
sorry.
would derive
I'm
from the Greek.
sorry. I'm sorry because the earliest attestations to Hebrew is the Masoretic script. Yeah? The Paleo Hebrew that apostle guy keeps talking about and that he've learned is totally imaginary because it said in the 10th century, 1000 BC, says there was no distinction between the Canaanite, the Phoenician, or the Hebrew. Yeah, there was no language, there was no difference. There was no Hebrew because why? The Hebrew has evolved from out of, I'm going to say, the Hebrew has evolved from out of this more ancient terminology. That's why they said there's no, because they're trying to say, I'm saying, that they're trying to not they're trying not to say that Hebrew didn't exist because that's what they're trying to say. Hebrew didn't exist before this time. Hebrew did not exist before that time. So so hence that's why they to call it Paleo Hebrew is the Phoenician. But Phoenician is not an accurate term either because it doesn't mean anything except purple dyed cloth. We're not talking about people, right? If you can talk about people, you want to talk about the people of Sidon, the people of Tyre, the people of Byblos.
The Phoenicians.
No, that's not. That's what the
Yes.
people called. No, 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 no.
Yeah.
Phoenician simply means purple dyed cloth.
Mm.
It's a
Well,
commodity.
that's a translation. It's like,
That's
but
exactly.
yeah.
So that's not that. In other words, that's a name that the Greeks decided to use and give it to the world to say, "Call these people by this name." That's
Mm.
not the name that the people themselves utilize for themselves.
What did they
And
utilize for themselves?
I'm not going to say because I
Yeah.
haven't
We
done that
we, we,
research
we
that
we don't
far.
we don't really know, do we?
Because like that's something that Dr. Ivan Van Sedema said. There's been a lot of stuff that has been destroyed and missing, and then once you start to utilize these axonyms and become and toponyms that we call noun
Mm.
as been utilizing them for so long, is that we don't know the difference. But Australia is not the name for Australia.
Mm.
It's the name that the Europeans gave to Australia. Like Tasmania is not the main name that the people call that country. So we're using these toponyms and acronyms for things that the
Yes.
European has put into place. So
Hmm.
when you ask me what did they call themselves, Canaanites. That's what according to the research, Canaan was the term that was used. You can
But we
find that
have we
in
have Kenana,
yes,
in the Middle Nature, and I wouldn't be
yes.
surprised if we had that
That's
in
the
the Almana letters. But
I was
but
just gonna
but
tell you
but
that.
wouldn't it
That's what
be
I just gonna
for
tell you.
the inhabitants of Canaan? Would
Yes,
it
which
be
is Phoenicia.
uh,
That is Phoenicia.
so
That is Phoenicia.
that would include people
Yes.
from the other
Yeah,
places?
yes, because Canaan was a geographical area, and that's what Smash Rockwell shares is that the Magi was up in that area and was being sent supplies from down in Egypt. Yes, the Magi was up located up in there, and they would send voluminous of supplies of a certain period of time, and they was amongst those people there, what people call the Phoenicians, or what they call themselves as Canaanites or Canaan. Yeah. So yes, that's what the people, according to the Almana Ladders, which is way before the the Greeks. You understand? Because this was during the Almana Ladders come down during the time of um the Pharaoh
Akhenaten.
Akhenaten. Yes. so this is what I'm saying. So when we're looking at these terms that we're utilizing
1300
nowadays,
BC, so
right? So no Greeks at that point in time.
Greek was probably 1000 BC, Greek language.
Well, let's go. Well, yeah, maybe I'll go 1000 BC because they say the first writing is going to be from what's his face, Iliad and the Odyssey by why am I forgetting his name now? um,
Well, it's funny. On Wikipedia, it says Greek has been spoken in the Balkan Peninsula since around 3rd millennium BC or possibly earlier. The earliest written evidence is a linear B clay tablet found in Messenia that dates between 1450 and 13 BC, making Greek the world's oldest recorded living language. I'm like, are you kidding me?
that's the
Are you
lies
kidding
that
me?
they say
What's up with the Middle
because
Ledger?
the Mycenaeans was not considered to be Greeks.
Oh man.
You
The
know, but
oldest recorded living language. Oh, my bad.
living
Okay,
language.
yeah, all good aware because obviously the
Well,
Melanesia is not considered a living language; it's
well,
considered a
well.
dead
If we
language.
but if we say that, then the Greek of the English of today is not the English of 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Could you call English the English language of today a living language from that point in time? And really, um, um, that language of 100 years ago is dead.
Well,
If
it's a
you if you-
variant. It's a variant. It's the same
if you
language,
over-
just a variant.
if you understand what I'm saying, because
Mm,
when I go back and look at, like I tell you the other day, when I'm looking at German,
yes.
which means North English, and I'm looking yeah, English means Northern German, and I'm looking at the words coming from out of German and the association with the English today. Today is English. So, oh, okay. So actually, strat and such words as certain other words that I'm recently seeing is actually just a different way of saying things. So it's a dialect, more or less. Yeah. And we say from region to region, the dialects change so much that even you have the provincial French and you have the local French, yes, and you have all these. So you have different dialects of French, you have different dialects of Spanish, you have different dialects even of English because a person you're speaking Hackney, right? And you're speaking a different person up in Scotland doesn't understand this person in Wales, and everybody's speaking English. So I'm looking at all of these different things, and I'm saying, well, when you say living language, if it's true what you said about the Coptic being the latest version of the Majanata, then you cannot call it a dead language, can we?
Well,
If you have Kemi
mm,
meaning the same as Cam did in the first dynasty,
hmm
then can we call it a dead language?
well,
You
then
understand what I'm saying?
that's a valid argument. That's a valid question. Some people would argue that the Coptic is somehow that language is only used for liturgical purposes,
It's still in
but
use,
people still use it, within at least within their families or ultimately their communities. But it is used, So yeah,
even the term geas. Geas, you know the term geas, yes?
yeah, from Ethiopia, yes.
Right. It's supposed to be an, I'm going to say, obsolete language, but it's not because it's used in church every day.
Mm,
Is
it's a
today,
liturgical
today,
language, yeah.
you go into Ethiopia today
Mm.
and you hear the priests chanting gears, and the local people know gears. Yeah. So we can't call it a dead language if it's being utilized today.
Yes,
You
I
know
see,
what
I
I'm
see, I
saying?
see, I see, I see what you mean, But then it's on us, to see what we
It's-
want to do. Yeah,
That's what we're saying.
because we can revive it. We can
That's what
definitely
we're saying.
revive it. People have revived what we call the modern Hebrew. So why?
No,
Yeah, they
that,
have.
I know, no, no. I'm saying to you that and I get and I appreciate when you say the term modern English because that's what I
Mm,
was saying early on. The Masoretic script, the Yiddish.
mm,
Yes, these are the people that have created the modern Hebrew, that square letters that they call it. When we go
mm.
to the Blue Letter Bible and we're looking at the Hebrew, we're not looking at Paleo Hebrew as they like to call it. We're looking at the Masoretic text, which dates from the 9th to the 11th century. Nothing earlier. We have nothing earlier. When you want to go talk about the And when I looked at it too, the Dead Sea Scrolls, which they say is the closest, which goes back to 150 BCE. Yeah, when they say, well, dead in language may refer to a number of. Yeah, they may it may do that because there's a lot of dying languages now because the people are dying.
Yeah.
But I can never call it a dead language until there's nobody else that speaks it whatsoever.
Mm,
So I can't call it dead until the people are dead and nobody's speaking it. But as long as we had a bird in Bermuda called the kahal, and it was thought to be extinct, but they're making a comeback.
mm.
Yeah, so they're not extinct. They're still around. You know what I mean? So yeah, so
And
it's
you know what's funny? You're just saying that this bird is making a comeback, and a comeback is similar to a rebirth. And I don't
yes,
want to sound like I'm into metaphysics. I'm not.
I got you.
But
I got you.
the glyph that helped Champollion a lot was the mess glyph, the biliteral
Ah,
MS, the three fox skin, and that glyph stands for birth mainly.
right. Yes,
So it's just an analogy.
the message. Yes, for real, for
You
real.
know,
It is. But no, I'm just saying it's like
we
when we're
could have
looking.
a uhem mesut or rebirth. If we want to. But go ahead,
Yes.
brother.
Well, but I think we are trying to rebirth our minds. We're trying to rebirth our minds. We're trying to rebirth our real histories. That's what Shika and Jib done. That's what the people that they call him Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, because Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, he was an editor. A lot of stuff he didn't write himself.
Yeah,
He
yeah. The
he
golden
had
age of the Moor. He was the editor.
yeah, he's revisited Ivan
Mm,
Van Sertima, right?
yeah.
Editor.
Hmm.
See, editor.
Yes.
So we have different things in her by different articles by different people.
Hmm.
Even one in her, I call pseudo that guy Bay, Dr. Bay. I call him pseudo, but it's got stuff written. His got stuff in her. Is a PhD. I just call him pseudo because he calls himself Bay. I don't like people when they call themselves Bay. I'm gonna say it right now
Who are you
because
talking about? Do you know the full name?
let me just
Because
see.
Bay, there's
Oh no,
hundreds of Bay.
I know that for real, for real. Let me see. Oh, actually, it was in the other book. Um, um, the Golden Age of the Moors, if I remember correctly. Because these people that won't bring up the term, because even that boy said last night that the white Moors mixed with the this person and that person. I said white Moors. What the hell is a white Moor?
Hmm.
But in the 1800s, they was calling because I did the research. They was calling Moors white, but then they had to stop doing it. Jose V. Pimenita Bay, Moorish Spain, academic source and foundation for the rise and success of Western European universities in the Middle Ages. Jose V. Pimenita Bay, that's the guy, Dr. Bay. Yeah, you ever
Oh, is
heard
it
of that name?
Jose Pimenta Bay?
You got it.
Okay. That's
Yeah, the
Kwame
guy.
Mentuhotep in the chat.
Huh?
Yes, it was Kwame Mentuhotep
Oh
who
yes,
suggested that. Yes.
yes. Right, right. Yeah, yeah. This is in this. He wrote this out in this book here. Um, um, and I saw some stuff and said, okay, you know what? I'm not because it's a bay. I have a problem with bay. You know, a problem I have with bay. It is simply another term for slave owner. This came about during not the Middle Ages. Yeah. Underneath during the time that the Pashas went into and destroyed tried to destroy Timbuktu. But the Bays was the Mamelukes and all of these people up in there because they was very much associated with the Turks. Yeah. 182. So yeah, that's the problem. So when people call themselves Bay and the bigging up the bigging up these people, yeah. Morris Spain, academic source and foundation for the rise and success of Western European universities in the Middle East. Now I have a problem when people keep talking about how the Moors done this and the Moors done that. Because like when we talk about the Arabic numbers, the Arab numerals, the Hindu Arabian numerals, and people think that the Arabs invented numbers or such things. No, what the Arabs did do was what everybody else did, and they went into Africa, saw some stuff, and they done what they say the white credit. They took credit for things. So hence the term algebra, yeah, which is, as you said, like the term alchemy. Now chemistry was long time before the Arabs came in, yeah, because the Africans was dealing with chemistry for many thousands of years. I'm talking about the Africans. I don't like to limit the geographical area just to the first part of the Nile, because the Nile was like 4,000 miles, 4,000 plus miles getting into the heart of Africa, and then getting further down into South Africa, where a lot of the stuff emerged from out of. Um, so
I'm sorry.
yeah,
What did you say about South Africa, brother?
a lot of the stuff emerged from out of South Africa. When I say emerged from out of South Africa, like you could find some of the oldest rock drawings in South Africa itself, the cave paintings, a lot of the a lot of the mines, where they was getting the earliest mines are found in South Africa. Yeah, a lot of the earliest artifacts are found in South Africa itself. When you read the book, oh yeah, my books, man.
Yeah, I think actually the oldest remains were at one point in like around South Africa, and now it might be like some country close to South Africa, like Botswana or something like that.
Yeah,
I actually read that not long ago.
right. So remember looking at all of these things like the Steel Bay. Look at Steel Bay. Steel Bay. You ever say Steel Bay? Yeah. And that look at type it up. See what you say. Steel Bay.
In one
So
word,
yeah. Stilbay. See what comes up.
um, how to plank roll, and there's a book. Are you
Try,
sure it's
s-
Stilbey?
no, not EY.
Oh, anyway, okay, my bad.
Yeah. Try South Africa.
Stilbey. Uh, oh, about 4 hours from Cape Town. So that's
There
in
we
South
go.
Africa, yes.
There we go. And when you read the history about Steel Bay technology, ha! It goes way back. Some of the earliest artifacts in the
But
world.
it says Steel Bay. Actually, there's another spelling which is
Yes.
Stilbaai. So Steel Bay has
Yeah,
a
that's the
no,
that's
sorry, Steel Bay. He's a
Afrikaans.
hmm oh African. Okay, is
That's the Afrikaans
a
spelling.
Steel Bay is a host. No, sorry. Steel Bay is host to a number of interesting archaeological sites, including ancient fish
Mm-hmm.
traps
Mm-hmm.
thought to have been built by early ancestors of the Khoi people of the Southern Cape, and a shell landfill that has been carbon dated
Oh,
around.
1 minute. 1 minute. Don't lose that.
Mhm.
I'm another English language for you. You just said now cap.
Yes,
It's spelled CAPE.
yes.
Remember what I told you about that? The E.
So is it supposed to be Cape?
Right.
Okay,
Exactly.
Southern
Exactly.
Cape.
Lengthens, yes. A cap
Mhm.
is what you put on your head, what you wear,
Yes.
right?
Hmm.
A cape is either something you put over your shoulders or it's the a peninsula. Yes.
Okay. And
Yeah.
so it has been carbon dated around 1000 BC. Another archaeological site is situated in a group of caves
1000
at
1000 BC?
for the ancient fish traps.
Yeah, of 1000 BC?
Yes, but then he says another archaeological site is situated in a group of caves at Blombos Cave, about
Yes.
12 kilometers from Steel Bay. Artifacts found at Blombos have been carbon dated to around 77,000 BP, which stands for before present,
Hmm.
making it the oldest known human settlement today. And that's something.
Exactly.
And it's
You
so
see what
funny,
I'm saying?
the oldest, and now that's Wikipedia for whatever that's
I'm good.
worth,
That's what you
but the
find.
the the, the oldest known human settlement today, and I didn't even know the name.
That you find
Uh,
in Shikanja Diop's book. What is it? Where's my book? The I don't know why I didn't see my book, but it's what's the name of it? There's the way down there. Shikanja Diop's book. Um um
we have Nechanev who's watching. He wrote Peace King, excellent show.
Bless up, bless up. Hey, that's a guy, man. That's a guy. I'm the peer review expert.
Yeah.
Yes, doctor, not yet, but Doctor
Soon to be.
Nathaniel,
Soon to be.
Doctor
Hey,
Nathaniel. That's the
but
guy.
but but brother Elder, tomorrow
Hmm.
actually, there's a childhood friend of mine
Right.
that I'm going to take for the second time to the Louvre Museum because this time his lady wants to visit. So
Ah,
I'm gonna get ready to close out. So feel free to
oh
make your
no,
closing
that's
remarks, brother Elder.
yeah. So like I said, we have a lot that we need to still learn, and I would advise everybody not to discount the old masters. I'm talking about the white masters. And I'm calling masters from the standpoint of sh- um, um, um,
Knowledgeable people.
yes, but no,
Hmm.
I'm specifically our elder Dr. Clark, who said we should read Massey and other people such as that, and also the book that Chris Harris brought out last night, Anacalypsis. Yes, and also the great Count Volney. We should really get these books and read and study them because they have a lot of Jews in them that I think need to be brought up until today because, like I just showed you about the Steel Bay community, came from I learned that from out of here. Yeah, Civilization of Barbarism by
Barbarism.
Shijantujia.
Okay.
Yeah, so we need to revisit these masters and bring forth the knowledge and stop dealing with these pseudos. And what I mean by that theory is like what Smash yourself, Brother Nathaniel, and even up to point Brother Reggie does is to expose the correct information. So yeah, that's what I'm about
Thanks a
as a
lot.
novice.
Thanks a lot. Dua Sen E.
Do I send E?
And
Yes, Hotep
I got
send.
Sen. Well, brothers and sisters, I'm gonna close out. Thank you for being there. Thanks for everybody who participated in the chat. Feel free to share that video, to like that video, and if you feel generous and you want to reward me for my word, then you will remember you have the paypal.me/Ma'at forever, Cash App, $Ma'at forever. You have the super chat. You even have the thank icon underneath the videos, which allow you to make a donation via YouTube directly. But um, we have five entries now with the parallels between the biblical writings and the ancient Egyptian texts, and I'm planning on making it grow. So thank you very much. Dua Nicheru. Stay safe, stay healthy, and if I'm allowed to by the Nicheru, I will definitely holler back at you, Hotel.
Now, for the record, for those who don't know, I'm giving middle nature classes. And here, that's the flyer. Okay? So, those who are interested, feel free to holler at me. If you're not interested, it's cool. But I recommend that everybody who has not yet seen the video, Kemet and Ma'at, Before Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, then watch it. It has about 300,000 views and really deserves to have a lot more. I just want to let everyone know who's listening in now and who's going to listen to this stream in the future. I just had my first meta nature class by Brother Shaka today, and I've had other meta nature lessons by other teachers, and I can tell you right now, the brother is the best in the game. He is that was one of the best classes I've ever had ever. So if you're interested in learning the meta nature, if you're interested in getting the basics of it, Brother Shaka is an awesome teacher. Get with him, and it's extremely affordable. This brother is giving us his time and his skills, and he's basically giving it away. I mean, I just consider it a donation. You know what I'm saying? So if anybody is interested in learning the meta nature, get with this brother right here. He's an awesome, awesome, awesome teacher. And I'll end with that.
Hotep Senu, Hana Senut. This is Julie, also known as Servant of Yah. and I'm currently taking the Amenemope classes with Brother Shaka, and it has been an amazing experience. Only 2 lessons so far, and I feel like I've been taking the classes for months, just with the how in depth he goes into the vocabulary words, the construction of the language, the grammar. It's been immeasurable, the experience. And one thing that comes across, hands down, is his extreme passion for teaching this to anyone who is willing to learn and has an interest in learning. So I highly suggest, if you are interested, even a minimal interest, that you subscribe to the classes with Brother Shaka. It's such a nominal amount for how much you get. I know, like, our last class was over 2.5 hours. It felt like 2 minutes, but because that's how, involved you are in what he's teaching and how he teaches and how compassionate he is about what he teaches. Also with sharing materials free of charge, no question, no doubt. It's just what he does. He doesn't have to, but he does. And so I just wanted to give a short testimonial about the class and the effectiveness of the class, and all of that is attested to how studied Brother Shaka is. So I highly recommend anyone with a minimal interest that you do sign up for the Amenemope class. Hotep.
Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, which is Ma'at Forever. Don't forget to watch the video entitled Kemet and Ma'at. Don't forget to share Kemet and Ma'at on my channel on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, or other social media that you use. Email, text messages, you name it. Those who wish to donate can do so on paypal.me/ma'atforever.